Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, and today I am so excited to finally be able to talk to you about Ghost of Tsushima. Honestly, I have been wanting to talk about this for such a long time. Massive shout out to Sony for very kindly sending me an early copy, having a chance to play through. I have played through the whole game. I have done all the side quests, done all the main quests, done a lot of the exploration. I have done not a complete 100% playthrough, but I have done what I'd consider right now like an 80% playthrough. There's some kind of collectibles, some exploration stuff I need to do. Basically, I've played a lot of this game. I sunk currently about 45 hours into it. By the time you guys are watching this video, I probably would have pushed that to about 50 because there's doing some more stuff. So yeah, I've got a lot of time in this game, and honestly, I'm going to start by saying, before I even get into the whys and the hows and the details and my impressions, this is, for me personally, one of the best games I have played, not only this generation, but ever. Like, in the future, when people put out those lists where they're like, hey, name your top 10 video games, Ghost of Tsushima is now going to go into that list. I haven't quite worked out exactly where, and it's not my top one game because that still is reserved for Zelda, but Ghost of Tsushima, honestly, I love this game so much. There is so much good stuff to say about this. It is an incredible experience. The gameplay is fun visually. It is incredible. So many awesome systems in this. So yeah, this, for me personally, it delivered in every way, shape and form and then beyond. Like, I was already looking forward to this game. I knew this was going to be a game that I liked. I'll be honest, when they first revealed it, when they kind of, when you think back to the very first time we saw a Ghost of Tsushima trailer and nobody really knew what that game was, but then, fast forward to a couple of months ago when they did that gameplay presentation and I saw the gameplay, I was like, yo, I was already excited, but now I'm sold. Now I know this is my kind of game, and having now played it through to completion, I can say I was not in the slightest bit disappointed. This game is fantastic. Now, I will say, before I go any further, I do want to kind of set the record straight. There is going to be a little bit of thematic bias here, right? I like samurais, I like Japanese culture, I like Japanese history, I like all the kind of legends that go around it. I like this kind of theme. So it's natural to say that when I'm playing a game in a theme that I enjoy, there's probably a slight element of bias that is going to play into it. There are some things that I will openly talk about later on that maybe I gave them a pass because I just like the world. Maybe I gave them a pass because I like the game. So keep that in mind. I like this theme. It's the exact same kind of thing that will happen when I play Assassin's Creed Valhalla later this year, in that obviously I'll be openly critical of it, but I also really like Vikings, so a game set in a theme that I like, I'm definitely going to be a lot more forgiving of. And I say that because when I spoke about, say, Red Dead Redemption 2, I know that technically that is a very impressive game, and I know a lot of people really like it. I personally wasn't a huge fan of Red Dead Redemption 2, but that's also partly because I just don't really care for the cowboy and western theme. So, I just want to kind of set the record straight that while I'm going to talk about this stuff, and the stuff that I experience is genuinely awesome, there is definitely a little bit of bias just because I like samurais, I like Japan, that kind of stuff. So, with that being said, let's talk about the game. Also, I realise I should have mentioned this earlier, there'll be no spoilers in this. There'll be no story spoilers, nothing like that. I'm only able to show you gameplay from like the first half of the game, and for the most part, it's just going to be ambient stuff you see in the background, me fighting people, using some cool combat, kind of getting involved in clearing camps and stuff, and just all that kind of stuff like that. So it's going to be a safe video to watch. There won't be anything like that. Obviously, if you don't want to see anything, by all means, you probably should step away, and maybe you shouldn't have even clicked on the video in the first place, but assuming you're here, you want to know what the game is like, and you want to still preserve the story, then rest assured I will not touch on the story. So, how do we begin? Well, first things first, this game visually is incredible, phenomenal. Like, I don't just mean from a technical standpoint, I don't just mean like technically it is it's a marvel, it's like they've done a really good job. I just mean aesthetically. This is one of those games where no matter where you go, like there are so many times where I just got stopped playing the game because it's got a photo mode, and there are some really good, like the photo mode is fantastic. There are so many options in it. I'm going to put a few photos on screen just so you can see some of the ones that I've taken. I'm not going to share all the photos because some of them are from the end game stuff and I don't want to give away anything that you can do in the game. So I'm just going to keep the safe ones here, but you can see here's a few samples of a few things that I took. But honestly, you're playing the game and it kind of happened in a very similar manner to when I was playing Breath of the Wild. I love that world because no matter where you go, you'll be on the way to a mission and you'll be like, whoa, that thing in the distance looks fantastic, let me take a screenshot. Or you walk into a field in Tsushima and there'll be like red flowers all over the field and you're just like walking through it and it looks like one of those epic final moments where you see like a samurai movie where they have like their final battle or something and there's like, blood spewing everywhere, something like that. It's just everywhere is a picture. This game is aesthetically so beautiful. Like it's just a really, really good world. Like I have so many screenshots that I can't wait to share. In fact, I'm going to create a thread on Twitter and just start sharing my screenshots gradually. So if you want to see more of that, by all means, check out my Twitter. But yeah, this game looks very, very nice. And that kind of pairs in with the adventure system because it shares a lot of parallels for me personally with Breath of the Wild in terms of the desire to explore. Tsushima does a really good job of just making you want to explore the world. There's so many things going on, but yet at the same time the game just doesn't tell you much, at least not in the kind of conventional sense. There's minimal UI. In fact, there has been an update later on, and it's not in this gameplay because obviously mine was pre-update, but there has actually been an update that includes a minimal UI setting where even though the game already has minimal UI, you can actually go even more minimal if you want to kind of, preserve that experience. But one of the things that I like about it is it's all very intelligently told to you as you're exploring the game. Like you'll be walking through the world and you might be on the way to a mission, and obviously, you've got the nice waypoint system, which is the wind. For that, you just literally swipe up on the touchpad. The touchpad integration, by the way, is really nice. You can swipe up on the touchpad to quickly, generate the wind so you can kind of find out where you want to be going. You swipe right to sheath your sword, which is awesome. Anytime you finish the battle, you just swipe right, and you do the samurai sheath where you shake the blood off of it, wipe it over your sleeve, and then sheath it into your saya. That is very cool. But you then also have you swipe down, I think, to bow, and then left to call your horse, or something like that. I can't remember the exact permutation. The point is, the integration of that is pretty nice, but that's not really important to what I was talking about. The point is, you'll be going somewhere, and then rather organically, there's a lot of ways that the world will just kind of tell you things. You might see a cliff and there might be like a few subtle rocks where you're like, oh, I can climb this, because you can climb a lot of things in this game. Not like Breath of the Wild where you can climb anything, but you can climb a lot of things in this game. So there's already that exploration note. But then also as you're walking around the world, there'll be like yellow birds that will fly by the side of you, and you begin to learn very early on that these birds will typically lead you to secrets, missions, things like that. And, if you ignore them, that's fine. They're going to come back later. So it's not one of those sort of like, oh, you need to be in the world at precisely 12 p.m. in order for a bird to show up. It's not that kind of, granular. It's more just like as you're going past, a bird will fly alongside of you and it'll be like, oh, I should follow this. And you follow it and it leads you to like a hot spring or a shrine or like a bamboo strike. Speaking of which, there's so many collectibles in this game, so many exploration elements. There are shrines to find, like major shrines. There are Inari shrines, which you're led there by little foxes. So again, similarly, sometimes you're exploring the world and there are foxes, and then, you'll walk with them and they'll lead you to an Inari shrine, which will then increase your charm slots. There are bamboo strikes, which are these kind of fun little mini games which you strike through to try and increase your resolve. There are hot springs, which will increase your health. There are also collectibles in the forms of like Mongol records, Sashimono war banners. There are crickets that you can find. There are like so many things. I mean, the collectible page in this is quite daunting. If you're one of those people that likes to explore worlds, likes to explore games, likes to do collectibles, you are going to love this. It's going to be like a field day for you. If on the other hand you don't really like collectibles, it might be a little bit daunting, but don't worry, you don't have to do that stuff. Like a lot of it leads, generally speaking, to kind of small items, subtle items, cosmetic items. I haven't found anything necessarily that leads specifically that's like really important tied to major collectibles. Some of them they do, like the shrines. You go to visit them and they give you charms which can change your gameplay, so they are definitely more important, and those are the kind of things that I would encourage a lot of people to go towards. But more of the subtle things, you don't necessarily have to gravitate towards them. But anyway, you'll be exploring, and I will say, if you've got a short attention span, maybe it's not very good for you, because you'll be like, alright, I'm going to go to this mission because this camp needs my help. Okay, cool. Then you see a bird and you're like, alright, let me just follow this bird, hold on a minute. So you go over there and the bird leads you to something. You're like, okay, cool, right, I better go back and help that villager. And then a fox is like, hey, no, let me show you our way to this new shrine. You're like, okay, I'll follow you, Mr. Fox. And then you follow that, and then in the distance suddenly you see a pillar and you're like, oh, but if I go to that pillar, it's going to have like a customization kit for my sword. Let me do that first. And then before you know it, you're like, what was I supposed to be doing again? Oh yeah, that villager who's still in trouble, he probably needs my help. I should probably go and help him now. And then the cycle repeats. But honestly, I love it. Like, everything is so organic in the way that you explore. You never like feel like anything is forced on you. Like if you just want to go and do the story, you can just select the Golden Line missions and just go. I would highly encourage people to just do the side quests, because side quests are kind of broken into two main categories. You've got like character side quests, which give you more story around the characters you're playing with. So I would kind of encourage you that if you don't want to do all the side quests, at least do the character ones, because they do genuinely give you a lot more backstory to the characters that are present in the main game. So while they're not mandatory, they are good at fleshing out the story. Then you've also got just the kind of regular side quest that's like, hey, this person needs some help. This Mongol kidnapped my husband. Please go and rescue him. That kind of stuff. So they're the sort of ones that you still do them if you want to, but they don't necessarily add too much to the story. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of that stuff, but you know, playing through that is honestly really, really good. But let's talk about the gameplay, because obviously the gameplay is also really important. Like, gameplay for this, I feel like they've got a really good balance. Now, I played through the game on regular difficulty, just the default one they give you to start with. There are two other options. There's an easy mode and there is a harder mode. I haven't played on hard mode, so I can't comment on the difficulty for that. But what I will say is that I feel like regular difficulty is a good balance. Like, to begin with, when you're first learning the game and you're learning the parry timings, you're learning to block, you're learning to evade, things like that, you get hit quite a lot. And obviously when it comes to difficulty curve, see this more as like an action adventure game. So this is not supposed to be a Soulsborne style difficulty game. This is not supposed to be punishingly difficult where like you're just banging your head against the wall. Similarly, this is not a hack and slash. So I guess you kind of put it in a similar vein to like Onimusha, Tenchu, that kind of thing. So, you know, there is definitely challenge to it. And they spoke about before like the kind of ethos behind their katana design. They want your sword to feel sharp. So in the very same way that you can kill enemies often in say 3 to 4 hits or like 2 to 3 hits sometimes, they similarly can also kill you very quickly. So if you parry and block well, you know, you can survive armies of enemies, but similarly if you mess up, you're also punished pretty quickly. But it's never too difficult to get back into the fight. But there were times when as you get more abilities, as you get more skills, sometimes you'll sit there and think, oh, you know what, this is getting a little bit easy. I just walked into a camp and I just like laid waste to everybody. It's kind of easy, but then suddenly before you know that, you know, you started to get complacent and then you fight a boss and he just kind of puts you on the ground and kills you time and time again and you're like, all right, maybe I need to go back to the drawing board. So I feel like, honestly, personally, the difficulty balance seems to be in a pretty good place. The point where you're able to enjoy the game, do some really cool stuff, feel like a badass samurai or a badass assassin when you play more like the Ghost, and still get a challenge without it being like, I wouldn't, you know, if I had to kind of put a number on it, I'd say the difficulty challenge in this game, maybe I'd put it at like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Like, I feel like there's a good challenge at some points, but I wouldn't say overly the game was hugely difficult. So I feel like it's well balanced. Like, for me, it basically gave me a really good experience. I never felt like I was like, oh, this is just too easy, I don't enjoy this, nor did I feel like at any point it was so difficult that I was banging my head against the wall. I feel like it was balanced quite well. What I will say is that one thing that I think some people may be quite critical of is that enemy AI, they are quite stupid, right? When you're playing as the Ghost especially, I can sneak into some grass, I can then go and stab a guy in the neck, and his dude or his mate is standing right next to him, and he's like, And then I go and hide in the grass again, and he's like, oh well, never mind. Now, on one hand, depending on the way you assess and review games, some people might look at that and be like, oh, you know what, enemy AI being stupid, it's kind of a bad thing. But you know what, in this game, I give it a pass because I feel like the fact that they are the way they are allows you to do some really cool things. Like, sometimes you just want to be a badass. Like, for me, I don't play video games for the kind of realism that they can offer. I play video games because I just like to enjoy games, right? I mean, it's hardly rocket science, but I know some people like them for different reasons. Some people want hyper-realism. For me, I just want to do cool stuff. And when the enemies are not hugely intelligent, it just allows you to do some fun stuff. Like, I can go in as the Ghost, I can jump up on a roof, I can unlock chain assassination, so I can jump down from the roof, stab someone in the neck, quickly go over and stab his mate, kill both of them, hide in the bush, and then when it's like his bodyguard comes over to investigate the location, I can sneak out and kill him. I can then turn around, whip out my bow and shoot someone on like a tower. As soon as his mate turns around to see him, I can then go and kill him. And while yes, it might not be hugely realistic, the fun and the enjoyment you get out of it, honestly, is just so satisfying. So while yes, I appreciate enemy AI, and again, maybe that changes. Maybe if you play on hard mode, maybe they are a lot more brutal, a lot more punishing, and that's something I haven't had a chance to experience. But when you're playing on regular, they do still spot you. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can't just walk in front of them. It's not like so stupid to the point where, you know, you just walk past and they just don't seem to care at all. But it definitely works around a line of sight thing. Like, if somebody is walking in a patrol and his friend is behind him, you can kill the friend behind him without the guy in front noticing. So, you know, that may be like a make or break for some people. Honestly, I just enjoyed it. It just meant that I could go into somewhere, I could scan an entire camp and work out a plan of attack and just go in and just feel like a badass. Like, when you finish clearing an entire location and you're like, that was kind of cool. You know, that's all I want from the game. That's all I want. And, you know, pair that with the fact that the game combat just feels really good. Like, when you're using all the different moves, you have different stances to switch between, which will, of course, you know, you'll change the stance depending on who you're fighting. So, you know, you might fight like the bladed guys, you'll go to one stance. If they've got a shield, you'll go to another stance. If they've got a lance, you use a different stance. And if they're big and heavy, you have a fourth stance. So there's 4 different stances you can unlock. They all kind of play very differently. And then obviously as you go down the skill tree, you have skills that you can invest into your stances, skills you can invest into like samurai abilities, skills you can invest into ghost abilities. If you play the whole game, you do all the side quests, do all the main missions, you can unlock every single skill, so you can just have everything be fully kitted up. It's great, right? But yeah, I mean, like gameplay wise, it just felt like super satisfying. Especially later on, you get like mythic arts as well. I'm not going to talk too much about them because obviously I want to let you discover most of them. But basically, see these as like, you know, there'll be a special side quest you can go on, and there'll be like a tale they'll tell you about this special art, which is like a legendary one, normally born from some kind of like Japanese mythology tale. And you know, you'll then go there, you'll learn a special art, like a special move that you can perform, and then when you work those into combat, woo, you feel like a badass. So yeah, honestly, it is very, very cool. Now, outside of that, of course, it's an open world game, so there's a lot of open world activities. What I will say, again, this is where, like, I probably gave the game a pass because I just like the world. However, if you strip back the fact that it's samurai, set in Japan, and it's just an open world game, the game obviously does follow some of the kind of typical open world tropes. There are, you know, a number of activities that you repeat time and time again throughout the world. You know, you have that typical thing that you would experience in things like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry and Just Cause and other open world games where you go to settlements, you kill a load of people at the settlement, you clear that settlement. Other quests take the form of, say, somebody like there might be like a peasant that's been like kidnapped by some Mongols, you have to go and help them. Or it might be that, say, you go over somewhere and like there's a person that's in trouble and they say, you know, go to this location and kill some people and come back and, you know, give me what I need. Or it might be one of those ones where you go somewhere and like Mongols have attacked, so you then have to investigate the area, which you then do by looking at items around the area. You then have to track some footprints and you then follow that to the location. And generally speaking, those are activities that are repeated throughout the entire game. There's a lot of kind of, you know, if you really boil it down, there's maybe kind of 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 sort of different core gameplay loops for the activities you do, but obviously they're just set in different settings, they've got different themes to them. You know, sometimes you go to like big encampments, other times you go to like smaller camps. There's, you know, they're all delivered in different ways, but ultimately the underlying theme is that the activities you do are quite similar. And I feel like this is where the thematic bias comes in, because if you are not necessarily hugely invested in the world, you may notice these things more. It's the same way that when I played Red Dead Redemption, I found the world quite boring because I was like, oh no, another person who's caught his leg in a bear trap, I've got to go and rescue him. Or like, oh no, I've got to go and walk on my horse all the way over to here to go and shoot some more people. Like that stuff to me when I played Red Dead didn't necessarily appeal to me. But yeah, I'm happy to do the same stuff in Tsushima because I just like the gameplay, I like the world. I will say, you know, if you had to compare them, like gameplay in Tsushima is just really well refined and just feels really rewarding, whereas I didn't necessarily get that. But anyway, this is not about comparing. I'm not here to say this game is better than this game, but I'm just trying to give you some context as to how it feels. Like I feel like if you're invested in the world, if you like these kind of games, you will love it. But at the same time, if you are kind of, you know, you don't necessarily have any attachment to like samurai and things like that, then maybe as you start to get towards the end of the game and you've cleared your like 20th camp and you've rescued your like 50th like peasant who's been caught by Mongols, you might start to think, I've kind of done these activities before. So that's the only one kind of gripe. But I feel like that's just present with like all open world games. I mean, I feel like if you ever got to the point in the future where an open world game is created and every single activity you do, all like hundreds of activities you do are different, I mean, that's going to take an insane amount of development time. It's just not even realistic. So it kind of gets to the point where you have to have some kind of repetition. But what I will say is that when I played personally, I never got to a point in this game where I was like, damn man, I'm bored of this activity. Like I just enjoyed them. So yeah, honestly, fantastic. Also, one quick thing on the note of like doing those activities, I don't know whether other games have done this before, but one of my pet peeves, I've mentioned this in previous videos before, one of my pet peeves about video games a lot of the time is when you have cutscenes and when you have quests and you're forced to follow an NPC, and that NPC walks all the damn time, that stuff really annoys me. In Tsushima, most of the quests, not all of them, most of the quests, you can just run, and the NPC will run with you. I'm like, when this happened, I thought, oh, we're going to be on for a long road of just like walking and like, you know, riding on horseback at like super slow pace. Like, no, you just click in the sprint stick and they just carry on talking while running. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. There are some quests where you still have to walk with people, but I would say 90% of the quests, you want to run, you want to pick up the pace, that's fine. But anyway, yeah, I feel like I've rambled for quite a long time, but honestly, this is a game that I am loving. Like, I finished it already, and I still just want to be in the world and just jump in and play. Like, I just jump in and go and, like, fight random Mongol groups. I'm exploring, kind of just picking up some of the things that I'm still missing. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that I really enjoy about this. But for the time being, that's kind of it. That's a quick rundown on what I think so far, completely spoiler-free, of the game. Obviously, once we get towards the end of the week and you guys want some more videos on it, I'll be dropping plenty of guides. All of it, by the way, will be spoiler tagged, so there'll be no, you don't have to worry about it. And if you kind of want to save all that stuff, by all means, don't necessarily have to click it, but if you click on any of those videos, they will be spoiler tagged. and I'll give you plenty of warning. But if you want to watch some guides on how to find some cool stuff, things you should look out for, things you should be doing, some awesome gear you can get, some awesome weapons you can get, some awesome moves, definitely stick around. We have got so many Tsushima videos coming your way. But for the time being, that's it. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Let me know if you have any questions. Obviously, I will try and answer them where I can, assuming I'm allowed to as per the embargo. But for the time being, thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the Arekkz Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there. If you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with, it's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.